The 8-4 Los Angeles Rams visit the NFC leading Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football for a crucial NFC West showdown. Matt, I have a simple question for you. With the Arizona Cardinals the first team to 10 wins atop the NFC and really the NFL at this point, are people sleeping on the Cardinals?
I think they are, because you just don't hear about them. You're always, especially in the NFC, Dallas was the exciting team to talk about at one point. You have, obviously, Tom Brady and Tampa Bay. You have Rodgers and the Packers. Right. Even LA Rams and Stafford with McVay, I think, have been in the news a lot because of, obviously, the moves they've made with Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr. Sure. But it has seemed a little bit like a bit of an afterthought as far as the Arizona Cardinals go. And maybe that's because Kyler Murray has been out all the way up until their bye. Basically after that Packers loss. But I think we need to remind everyone that they are 10-2. They have one of the top defenses in the league currently. Right. The offense has fallen back a little bit, but that's because Colt McCoy was the quarterback. Mm-hmm. But they still went 2-1.
Crazy.
With Colt McCoy. James Conner is becoming a workhorse running back. And they're also second in the league in turnover differential, which, when you start looking towards playoffs, that's huge. I mean, they have a 12-point turnover differential. So awesome. I think we need to remind everyone that the Arizona Cardinals are really good, even though we have some reservations on Cliff Kingsbury still. Definitely. But Kyler Murray is amazing. That defense is amazing. That offense is amazing. And, when the Rams come into town, I think they take care of business in a big primetime game.
That's crazy. We'll talk a little bit about that game in a bit, but in terms of the Cardinals, I completely agree. People are sleeping on them. This is obviously the first NFL team to 10 wins this season. They have now won all 7 of their road games this season by double digits, which is only the third team in NFL history to do something like that, which is just crazy. A couple of those wins, like you mentioned, have come with Colt McCoy at quarterback. A couple of those wins have come with DeAndre Hopkins out of the lineup, and the Cardinals just continue to keep finding ways to win. And somehow people are still talking about the Buccaneers, the Packers, even the Cowboys, and the Rams when it's time to talk about the NFC Championship Game. And it's just a bit confusing to me. And I get it. Again, like you mentioned, there are reservations with Cliff Kingsbury. There are reservations with a relatively young quarterback in Kyler Murray. But, I like to look at it this way. Look at the weaknesses of all the top NFC teams. You can start with the Packers. What's their biggest weakness? I would say at this point, it's their offensive line. With the loss of Elton Jenkins, with David Bakhtiari still on the shelf, we're unsure of how he'll come back. You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what's their weakness? It's their secondary that's been, kind of shambled with injuries this season, and they're young at that, spot anyway. You look at the Cardinals, what really is their weakness? Maybe aside from health, you have a dual threat, in his prime generational type quarterback in Kyler Murray. You have a legit running game with James Conner, as you mentioned, with Chase Edmonds, who's electric, still slated to come back soon from that ankle injury. You have an elite receiving core. You added a tight end one to Zach Ertz. Defensively, you can get after your quarterback, which I mentioned. Chandler Jones is a monster, and I love the Cardinals secondary. Byron Murphy, Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson, all dogs, physical ball hawks. Evans Joseph deserves a lot of credit for what he's been doing with that defense. So the Cardinals are being slept on point blank, and it's kind of confusing sitting atop the NFL at 10-2. But I think as the season wanes down, the rest of their schedule is pretty tough. So we'll kind of see what they're made of starting on Monday night. But let's talk a little bit about that. Who you like the Cardinals to win on Monday night?
I do like the Cardinals, especially because I can remember that at the beginning of the season when the Cardinals were one of the last undefeated teams and we were talking about them, we mentioned, last year they fell apart. Right. They were going to play the Rams, and we all thought that they were going to lose that game and finally get that first loss. Not only did they prove us wrong, but I think they took it personally that we doubted them, and they just destroyed the Rams. And if you look at the Rams, this is a team that really hasn't had a solid win since week 3 against Tampa Bay.
100%.
They have lost to the good teams, and they kill the bad teams, which you can argue that's what you're supposed to do. But for a Super Bowl contending team, you got to do better.
Not what you want to see.
They've been playing soft. Matthew Stafford has been turning the ball over. The offense just doesn't seem to have it figured out right now. And Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald have kind of been quiet.
Yeah.
This Cardinals team is hungry for a primetime win, especially after, that close loss to the Packers on Thursday night. I think that at home, they're going to come out physical. They're going to come out with a chip on their shoulder because people don't really talk about them.
Yeah.
And they're going to, basically take care of the division at that point because that win will more basically solidify them as NFC West champs.
Sure. I can see that happening. And I think the Cardinals' consistency, I think their balance on, both sides of the ball wins them the division, wins them the NFC West. But I don't know if it gets them a win on Monday night against the Rams. And obviously, I've been very critical of Matt Stafford and the LA Rams this season, and I think it's been for good reason.
Oh, very valid.
But obviously, this is a game that they really have to win to kind of, keep pace with the Arizona Cardinals atop that division. And this is kind of the reason why I'm seeing it. Obviously, Kyler Murray returned last week against the Chicago Bears after a few-week layoff, and he accounted for 4 touchdowns, which is awesome after
in the rain,
on
Lake Michigan, Soldier Field,
tough conditions, but he only threw the ball 15 times, and maybe that's part of game script. They were able to run the ball effectively. They didn't have to do too much. But I wonder if Kyler is still kind of working himself back into the fold, and aside from that, or kind of adjacent to that, we haven't really heard much from Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey this season, and we know those two on any given Sunday or Monday in this case can completely flip a game. Like I said, we haven't really seen that from those two. We know they're more than capable of it, and I just have a gut feeling that one of those two will pop off, kind of wreck this game, and kind of help the Rams defense look like it's looked in recent years. So, and that's a formula for a Rams win. A win they have to get. So that's what I expect. I expect the Rams to win on Monday night. Don't think it's going to be enough for them to actually overtake the Cardinals and win the division.
Yep.
But that's going to be fun to watch. Can't wait to see that on Monday night. That's going to do it for us here, though, at BVM Sports. For Scott Procter, Matt Morris. We'll catch you next time.